Good morning, students. Welcome back to your virtual classroom. Today we will discuss the second part of the first chapter of your science book, Nutrition in Plants. Now this nutrition in plants, we have already discussed some part of it. Let us quickly recap. We have discussed that what is nutrition, what is food. What is nutrition? That is taking in of the food and also utilizing it to produce energy in your body. How does food help us? Food helps us grow. Food helps us to protect ourselves against diseases, etc. And also we used the modes of nutrition. How food is produced by the different types of organisms. We defined that there are two types. One is autotrophs who make food themselves, and heterotrophs who depend on food depend on others for food. We are heterotrophs, the animals, and there are also some plants which are non-green plants. They are also heterotrophs, and we discussed how the green plants, through the process of photosynthesis, produces starch, the simple glucose. They first form simple carbohydrate called glucose, and then they store it as starch. It is a complex carbohydrate. Please let us very briefly recap it, the first period in it, and then we will start with the today's topic, right? Let's see. So far so good. Now you understand, we have come to the second part of the topic, that the food produced. We have already talked that the green plants, they produce all the food. They are the food makers. So what we need as food, as for full nutrient, are not only starch, not only carbohydrates or glucose. Actually, we also need proteins. We also need oils, fats. We also need vitamins, roughage. So, if the plants do not produce them, also, how do we get? No, the plants also produce proteins. Apart from carbohydrates and fats, proteins, oils, roughage, vitamins, all these are primarily produced by plants. Let us also now look again at the series of slides that will give you some idea how plants produce different types of nutrients other than carbohydrates. Please look at the slides. Clear? Carbohydrates like sugar and starch, these are the primary products of photosynthesis, but plants also make oils and proteins by synthesizing the primary carbohydrates. Now, synthesis of oils and proteins may take place even in the absence of sunlight. and this take place in non-green plants also. Proteins, you will read later on, proteins are compounds of carbon, hydrogen, mainly nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur and sometimes phosphorus. Plants obtain nitrogen from the soil to synthesize protein, particularly in the leguminous plants, protein is more than sufficient. Now let's look at this activity. This activity, we are taking 2 test tubes and some clean water in them. In one test tube, we add a little starch and stir it. We add a drop of iodine solution to both the test tube and observe the change in color. Starch grains will take bluish black color and turning the water blue. Water in the other test tube remains colorless. This means starch turns blue-black with the addition of iodine solution. This is the test for presence of starch. Let's look at another activity. Now, starch, we know that it will turn blue-black in iodine solution. Now take a green leaf and fresh green leaf in the daytime. Boil it for 5 minutes and place it in alcohol. Chlorophyll being soluble in spirit, it comes out of the leaf and the leaf becomes colorless. Now if we put a drop of iodine solution on the colorless leaf, a blue spot will form. That shows that there is starch in the leaf. It shows that the leaf has food synthesized by the green leaves on plants during photosynthesis, and that is in the form of starch or carbohydrate. So, if you have understood the part of the autotrophic nutrition in the green plants, but the topic is nutrition in plants, and there are also a very few, but there are also examples of non-green plants in this world. The plants which do not have the green pigment that is very vital for food production, that traps the sunlight energy, solar energy. So the plants which don't have this green pigment called chlorophyll in them, how do these plants take nutrition? They take nutrition from the other plants. You see, there are 2 types of such heterotrophic plants. Heterotrophic plants. Most green plants are autotrophic, but there are some non-green plants. First kind is parasites. We will discuss it very soon with the slides, but let us just cover the topic a little more. What are parasites? Parasites are non-green plants that lives inside or upon the surface of another organism. It can be animal also, it can be plant also, and from that body upon which or inside which a parasite plant or animal or organism lives is called a host. Parasites live inside or upon a host body. A very common example is Cuscuta. You have seen it, or bell. We'll go into that very soon. Second type of heterotrophic plants is saprophytes. This you have also seen very commonly. Fungus is a very common example. Mushrooms, bread mold, yeast. Bread mold you can see if you keep some bread in the open air in a damp place, very soon some fungus develop on it. These are called this take nutrition from decaying organisms, dead or decaying organisms. They are called saprophytes. We'll discuss it. Let's say the saprophytes here, that means dead. These saprophytes, when they are eaten, we have another kind of specific heterotrophic plant that are called insectivores. These insectivorous plants are partly heterotrophic. Actually, they have green pigments, but these plants, they grow in such soil where nitrogen is not enough. They cannot get nitrogen-rich diet. So they can make carbohydrate through photosynthesis. But without sufficient nitrogen, they cannot make proteins. So they directly trap some insects to get the animal proteins. They are partly heterotrophic. And the fourth kind of plants are, we call them symbiotic. Usually a green plant like alga and a non-green plant like fungus, a parasite, together they live on each other and take benefit from that relationship. We call that symbiotic relationship, and these plants are symbiotic plants. Let's go to the slides. One more point I want to clarify here. Please note that fungus is a singular word and the plural of it is fungi. Please note the spelling and also the pronunciation. Fungus, fungi. Alga, it is also singular, and algae. Algae, this is plural. This is also important for your good pronunciation. So let us go to the series of slides to describe the heterotrophic nutrition in plants. Please look at the slides. Okay.
You know what are heterotrophs? Non-green plants which do not make their own food are also called heterotrophic plants. They are mainly of two types, parasites and saprophytes. Let me tell you what is parasite again. An organism, it may be a plant or an animal, that lives on other living plants or animals and take food from them is called a parasite. A plant or animal that supports a parasite is called a host. Now, totally parasitic plants. We have some examples like Cuscuta, which we call Amorvale or Shanlata, Viscum, Mistletoe, Rafflesia. Let's look at the pictures. These pictures you see, it is all mistletoe, Amorvale, and also the Rafflesia. By the way, sandalwood is also a kind of parasitic plant. Saprophytes is actually made up of two words. Sapro means rotten and phyte means plant. These are such plants which obtain food from dead and decaying plant and animal bodies. Some common examples are fungi like mushrooms, bread mold. You have seen, if you throw away some bread for some days, you will see that it gets rotten with some molds coming on it. And now to the next part. These are partly heterotrophic plants. Insectivorous, we also call them carnivorous plants. These are green plants which are born on semi-barren soil that lacks nitrogen. You know that plants obtain the nitrogen supply from soil, not from air. So these plants, they do photosynthesis for carbohydrate. But apart from photosynthesis to produce carbohydrates, they also catch insects in various methods to satisfy their need for protein consumptions. Some examples are sundew, Venus flytrap. These are pitcher plant, and also this one is sundew. So you see, these are the insectivorous plants. Another kind of plants are called symbionts. In simple words, symbiotic plants. These are actually two organisms. They live together for mutual benefit. They benefit each other in some way. Such a process is called symbiosis. Examples are rhizobium and lichens. Let's look at some pictures. Rhizobium, it is nitrogen fixing non-green bacterium. They supply mineral nutrition to the host plant and in exchange obtains water and carbohydrate from the nodules. Same way, lichens is a alga and non-green fungus. Alga fungus gives water to the alga, and in turn alga synthesizes carbohydrate food and supplies to the fungus. Now you understand the heterotrophic nutrition in plants.
We are almost at the conclusive part of this first lesson. One important topic we briefly touch here. We touch it very briefly. That cell. You already know the basic idea of a cell. Cell is the basic unit, the building block, like a brick in a house. Cell is the basic fundamental unit, building block of an organism. May it be plant, may it be animal. Let us just briefly note at the differences between an animal cell and a plant cell. You will see that there are essentially three differences. You go through the pictures I will show you. You need not go into very much details, that will come later on. But the basic three functions, that cell wall is present in the plant cell and why. And chloroplast, you already know why chloroplast is there in plant cell, because they are autotrophs. Chlorophyll is present in the chloroplast. They are not in animal cell. And also vacuoles. Why they are larger there and smaller in here. These differences you note from the next slide also, and we will then conclude this chapter. Please look.
Have a careful look at the plant cell. If you want, you can pause the screen and take a good look. You need not memorize it, but note down all the different parts of it. Now have a look at the animal cell. Also take careful note of the different parts and the basic difference. Try to notice the basic difference between the two. Now let us go to a table. You see, animal cells are usually smaller than the plant cells. Most important difference I already told you, in animal cells, cell wall is absent. Cell membrane are in both, but cell wall. The plasma membrane of the plant cells is surrounded by a extra rigid cell wall of cellulose. This makes the roughage in our diet. Number 3, except the protozoan euglena, no animal cell possesses plastids. Euglena is the single exception. And plant cell, of course, plastids are present. Vacuoles in animal cells are many but very small. But in the most mature plant cells, they have only one large central sap vacuole. It is full of sap. Animal cells have a single highly complex Golgi apparatus, we call it. But plant cells have many simpler units of the prominent Golgi apparatus, and these apparatus are called dictyosomes. And animal cells have centrosomes and centrioles. These in plant cells, do not exist. Some of them you understand, some of them you don't understand, you don't bother, just note them down, try to memorize them if it is possible. You will read it anyway in the next class 8.
So students, this is the first chapter we discussed in 2 parts. Go to the first period video and the second this period video once or thrice, and then go to the book, read the chapter. Reading is no alternative. Because reading will not only enhance your subject, command over subject, but it will give you control over your English language, which is very important at your age. You must learn to use different types of English. And also do the exercises very seriously. The exercises will provide you. Stay home, stay safe. Very soon we will meet with the next video for the second chapter of your science book. Till then, thank you and goodbye.